Thank you so much for joining us here today.
You're
I am
fine.
really excited about this because this is something outside of what we normally talk about.
Okay.
At Jewish Unity Through Diversity, we usually go to the Middle East, to North Africa, and I'm excited to talk since this is closer to my family's heritage, and we're Unity Through Diversity, so we want to make sure. So I'm glad that we agreed to do this. Thank you. Today we're talking about Martin Hershkowitz's book, Son of the Shoah, Poems from a Second Generation Holocaust Survivor. So thank you first for joining. And I thought it'd be interesting to have a conversation, second generation, third generation,
Okay.
and obviously you need to share some of your poems.
Okay.
So let's begin. First, introduce yourself. Tell us a little about who you are and why you're doing this.
Okay. My name is Martin Herskowitz. I was born in the United States. I made Aliyah to Israel when I was about 30. When I was about 45, I sort of felt that my life wasn't really going the way I wanted it to. And I suddenly came to the realization that maybe the fact that I'm a son of a survivor, Holocaust survivor, has something to do with it. And I started reading about second generation. And I saw a lot of my problems that I thought were just mine is basically pretty much generic in a lot of the second generation. And I started reading up about it, and one of the books I read was called Memorial Candles by Dina Vardy, and she said that if you really want to deal with the trauma of being a second generation, you have to try and connect to your roots and try to find out about your family, which was difficult for me because my family never spoke. And so I used poetry as a means of connecting to my past and connecting to the Holocaust memory.
And you help other people to connect to their memories through poetry as well.
I hope so. That's, you write for yourself, and hopefully that if it touches someone, then, I'm very heartened by the way people react to my poetry, yes.
Yeah, people who I've been speaking to have just said how they see themselves in it. And I also saw my parents in it, but some of it spoke to me as well. And it's interesting. We're going to get into all of that, but let's start first just with the title of the book.
Okay.
Was this your idea? Was this your publisher's idea?
I started writing my poetry in English, and then in the middle of 2010s or whatever, around 2015, 16, I started writing in Hebrew. I went back into writing poetry again, but I wrote this time. I went to workshops in Hebrew. So I have half my poems were in English and half of it was in Hebrew. I really feel that I can do more good in Hebrew because I really feel that there's a lot of trauma here in Israel. And I think that my poetry, especially the way we remember the Holocaust, is a very traumatic way of remembering it. And I really felt that I could help in Hebrew. So I published my book in Hebrew first. And I called it Shnot Dor, which is a play on second generation. It's a verse in Tehillim, Binu Shnot Dor Vador, but it's also a play on Dor Sheni, which is second generation. That's what I called it. And I said, well, how do I translate it into English? And I called it A Generation On. My publisher said that's not overtly Holocaust enough, so they changed the name to The Son of the Shoah. And in many ways, I feel that I'm a son of a Shoah because I am certain that if it weren't for the Shoah, my parents never would have met and never would have married. They would have met because they're cousins, but they never would have married. And my whole family dynamic would have been completely different. And so who I am now is pretty much is because of the Shoah, and I'm very much a product of the Shoah.
Yeah, it comes across very powerfully in the book. But before we delve into it, I still want to touch upon one more thing, because in the foreword, Judith Baumel-Schwartz talks about the evolution of the term second generation, and you've been throwing that around back and forth. And she says, and I'm going to say, second implies continuity, a continuation of survivor trauma, albeit in a different form. It also implies a connective chain and degree of dependence, as there's no second without a first. To me, that's really powerful. Can you talk about that a little and how that affects you and what you want to affect?
I very much feel connected to the Holocaust and connected to the first generation, I mean, to the survivor generation. I feel that I was born in order to repair and to fill the vacuum that the Shoah left, that the Holocaust left. And so a lot of my existence is a reference to the Holocaust, and most of the book deals with it. I mean, if you ask me to introduce myself, one of the first things I say, well, I'm a poet in a second generation. So that's, I mean, my identity is being someone who was born in reference to the first generation, to the survivor generation. But when you're born in order to repair a world that was destroyed, it's almost an impossible task.
Yeah, and you say a child of Holocaust survivors seldom has a life of their own. We're almost always named for someone, or more usually more than one person. We're brought into the world to replace those other souls. I mean, I myself am named after two people who were killed in the Holocaust. So I understand this need to, this is our future. This is the next generation.